Hey, welcome. Today we're diving deep into a topic that, let's be honest, no homeowner ever wants to think about but absolutely should understand: water damage. We're going to pull back the curtain on what the pros do and hopefully turn what feels like a chaotic nightmare into a clear, step-by-step process you can actually understand.
Okay, so picture this. You walk downstairs and splash. Your feet are soaked. Water is creeping across the floor. Your heart just drops, right? Total panic. In that moment, what's the right move? What do the professionals actually do when they get that frantic call? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
You know, water is tricky. It can get in from almost anywhere. Sometimes it's super dramatic, like a burst pipe. Other times it's a massive storm. But it can also be sneaky, like a slow leak from your AC unit or a washing machine that finally gives up. And then there are the real nightmares: a failed sump pump or a sewage backup. These are the usual suspects that can turn your life upside down in an instant.
All right, let's get into the immediate response. The second that water starts coming in, a clock starts ticking. And believe me, what happens in that first hour can change everything.
This is really the golden rule of water damage. See, the longer water sits, the deeper it soaks into everything. Your drywall, your floors, your home's very structure. That just creates bigger and way more expensive problems down the road. So a super fast response is all about stopping that water dead in its tracks.
So, you think the worst is over, right? The standing water is gone. But here's the thing: the job is nowhere near done. In fact, some of the biggest threats are completely invisible. Water is just incredibly sneaky. It gets inside your walls, it gets trapped under your flooring, and it soaks into all that insulation you never see. So even if a surface feels dry to the touch, the structure underneath could still be saturated. And that hidden moisture, it's basically a ticking time bomb.
And here is why that time bomb is so dangerous. It only takes about 48 hours, just 2 days, for mold to start growing. And once it takes hold, it can spread like wildfire, which is not only a huge pain to get rid of, but it can be a serious health risk. That 2-day window is exactly what the pros are racing against.
Now, this is something most people don't know. Not all water is created equal. Professionals actually classify it into 3 categories. Category 1 is clean water, from a broken water supply line. Category 2 is gray water, which is a bit contaminated. Think of an overflow from your dishwasher. And then there's Category 3, black water, which is as bad as it sounds. We're talking sewage, floodwater, stuff you do not want to touch. This isn't just fancy jargon. It completely changes how they approach the job, what gear they wear, what they clean with, and what, unfortunately, has to be thrown out.
So how do the pros handle all this? Well, they don't just show up with a bucket and a mop. No way. They have a very specific, structured playbook that's designed to take a completely chaotic situation and turn it into a controlled, scientific process.
The whole thing really boils down to 3 main phases. First, get the water out. Second, dry everything you can't see. And third, rebuild and restore. Simple as that. Let's break them down.
Okay, phase 1 is all about damage control. It's an emergency response. The crew rolls in, finds the source, and stops it. Then they use these massive, powerful pumps to get all that standing water out, fast. They have special tools to suck moisture out of carpets, and they'll move all your furniture to a safe, dry spot. And here's the crucial part. They start documenting everything: photos, moisture readings, you name it. That detailed record is absolutely vital for your insurance claim later.
Now, this is where the real science comes in, and it's what separates the pros from everyone else. They set up this whole army of giant air movers and dehumidifiers, creating a powerful drying vortex. Technicians come back every single day with these calibrated meters to check moisture levels deep inside the walls and floors. They're not just guessing. They're gathering data to make sure everything is drying properly. This part can take a few days, but it's got to be done right. All right, once everything is proven to be bone dry, it's time to rebuild. Anything that was too damaged to save gets torn out and replaced, new drywall goes up, new floors go in, and painters come in to match the textures and colors so you'd never even know there was a problem. The whole thing wraps up with a deep clean and a final walkthrough with you to make sure every single detail is perfect. So right about now, you might be thinking, look, couldn't I just rent a shop vac and point a few fans at the wall? And that's a fair question, but the science behind doing this correctly is way more complex than you'd think, and it's the biggest reason this is not a DIY project.
See, a lot of pros are certified by an organization called the IICRC. Just think of this as like the master's degree in flood recovery. It means they've been rigorously trained on the highest industry standards for safety, science, and getting the job done right. You're not just getting a handyman, you're getting a certified expert.
And the gear they use? Whoa, it makes all the difference. We're talking stuff you just can't get at the local hardware store. They use thermal cameras to literally see moisture behind your walls. Those moisture meters give them hard data, not guesswork. And things like HEPA air scrubbers are amazing. They actually filter mold spores and other junk right out of the air while they work. They also use this fascinating field of science called psychrometrics. It's basically the study of how air and moisture interact. By controlling the temperature and humidity in the room just right, they can actually coax moisture out of building materials without damaging them. It's like convincing a wet sponge to let go of every last drop of water. It's a real balancing act, and it's what prevents wood from warping and drywall from cracking. Okay, let's move into our final section. What happens after all the fans are gone and the dust settles? Now you're in the home stretch, but you still have to deal with the practical stuff, like insurance and making sure this doesn't happen again. The million-dollar question. This is what's on every single homeowner's mind. The damage itself is stressful enough, but worrying about how you're going to pay for it is a whole other level of anxiety. And the answer, as it so often is with insurance, is, well, it depends. So here's the general rule of thumb. Most standard policies cover damage that is sudden and accidental, like a pipe that just bursts out of nowhere. What they usually don't cover are gradual problems, like a tiny leak you ignored for months, or what they call overland flooding from a hurricane. That usually requires a completely separate flood policy. The key word for insurers is accidental. Knowing that difference is huge. Here's another really important point. Any major repairs have to meet your local building codes. A legitimate restoration company takes care of all that for you. They handle the permits, they schedule the inspections, they make sure your home is not only fixed, but fixed correctly and legally. Honestly, that alone is a massive weight off your shoulders. So, your home is finally back to normal. The crisis is officially over. But that whole experience, it tends to leave you with one last nagging question. Are you actually ready if this were to ever happen again?
Look, being proactive is your absolute best defense. I'm talking about simple stuff. Check the hoses on your washing machine once in a while. Go find your main water shutoff valve right now so you know where it is in a panic. Keep your gutters clean. These tiny little actions can prevent a future catastrophe. Taking these steps today might just save you from having to go through this whole ordeal tomorrow. I really hope this helped clear things up. Thanks so much for joining me.